topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask Good Questions podcast, broadcasting live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio at W4CY.com. This week and every week, we will reach for a higher purpose in money and life, as well as a focus on health and wellness. Now, let's join your host, Bonita Bell Anderson, as together we start with Asking Good Questions.
Good day to you all. This is the Ask Good Questions podcast. My name is Bonita Bell Anderson, and today we are going to talk about 5 things that every woman should know about Social Security, especially if she's getting divorced or maybe has lost a husband or a spouse. So let's get rolling. All right. I am your host, as I said, and for those that are new, I am a financial advisor. I'm also an author and an investor coach. Have been that for quite some time. I've written a book called Money Mindset and the Suddenly Single. It's the ultimate guide for divorcees and widows. And more about me can be found on the Ask Good Questions podcast website. So let's move on. I basically have become a snowbird. And so this has allowed me with being able to work from home, but also be associated with a great company that I work with for the investing part of things. I'm up in Washington State in the summer and down in southern Utah in the winter. This is all driven by grandchildren. So 5 things that every woman should know about Social Security. We're going to ask some good questions today about this really, really important topic for your personal planning. So first, of course, there is a financial disclosure. I'm sure you already know this, but I don't work for the government, thank goodness. I don't work for the Social Security Administration. These are my views. I am a registered advisor, but still, you need to know these are my views. These are not the views of the government. Oh, good. I'm so glad. So here's 5 big points, and we're going to go through them one by one. Number 1, nothing keeps you from getting your own Social Security benefit. We're going to go through these one by one. Number 2, there isn't any marriage penalty or limit to benefits that are paid to a married couple. Number 3, if you're due 2 benefits, you're going to get the one that pays the higher rate. You're going to get 1 benefit. Number 4, if you are divorced and were married at least 10 years, you might be eligible for some of your ex's Social Security. We're going to go into that in more depth. And number 5, when your husband or your ex dies, you're probably maybe due a widow's benefit. So we're going to go through these one by one. So number 1, nothing keeps you from getting your own Social Security benefit. If you've worked for at least 10 years and you earned a minimum of 40 work credits, is what they call it, you are vested in the Social Security system. That means you're guaranteed a benefit. Once you reach age 62, you are eligible for your own Social Security benefit, but I am going to be at the top of the list to tell you to wait. I have a much longer Social Security workshop where I tell you about why you should wait. But whether you're married or not, and whether your husband collects Social Security or not, these are all things that factor into what actually happens. And your retirement benefit is factored the same way as your husband's. There isn't any male, female going on here. This is just numbers. This is just math. It's based on a percentage of your average monthly wage using a 35-year base of earnings. And if you don't have 35 years of earnings, we would substitute zeros for those years that you didn't have that. If you became disabled before your full retirement age, you might qualify for Social Security disability benefits. Hopefully, that usually is a whole nother can of worms, but hopefully you're not dealing with disability. But if you are, it is something that you could probably, if you worked and you paid Social Security, you might have a benefit there. I can tell you, it can be a long process to get that benefit. And if you also have like a pension from a government job, that could be reduced. Now, as you know, there's a lot of things going on with the government right now. So some of these things may be factoring in and be changing in the future. But right now, this is current as of right now with this information. Okay, so here's important information for now. So probably most of you listening are probably in those categories down there at the bottom. The 1958 is 66 and 8 months for full retirement age. If you were born in 59, it's 66 and 10 months. If you were born in 1960 or later, then your full retirement age is 67. And here's a news flash. That may be one of the things that may be changing. They may be moving that to age 70 to be full retirement age. Full retirement age is when you get your full benefit. If you do anything before your full retirement age, you're going to get penalized. So I'm going to try to help you not let that happen. So I included this because this is a super interesting chart about, if you're a geek like me, if you're a healthy male at age 65, there's, 50% chance that you're going to live to be 90. And there are more and more people living to be 90. But if you're a healthy female at age 65, I'm going to say that's like 92. There's a 50% chance that, the whole point of this is you have the potential, possibly, if you're keeping up with your health, which is another topic we talk about on this podcast, if you're keeping up with your health and doing some of the things that we suggest that you do, then you could live well into your 90s. And those statistics show that if you are married and you're both healthy at 65, there's a good chance that somebody's going to be, at least one of you could be 95. There's a 25% chance of somebody living past 97. There's a 1 in 10 chance that at least one of you is going to get past 100. Is that scaring the crap out of you? If you think about, am I going to have enough money to live? Well, this is going to be one of the reasons why I'm going to say delay taking this benefit. We're going to talk about a lot of these things that have to do with this sort of thing. This was actually, I forget the year this was. It's been a while ago that this was on the Time magazine. Can you imagine being 142 years old? I don't think anybody can imagine being 142 and being healthy and having enough money to live. But medical science is sure thinking that they could help us live longer and longer and longer. So number one, remember, was nothing's keeping you from getting your own Social Security benefit. Number two is there isn't any marriage penalty or limit to benefits paid a married couple. Because if you are married now and both you and your husband have worked, you're each going to be paid your own Social Security benefits. So there is a little myth out there about a working woman is limited to 1/2 of her husband's Social Security. That is not true. That rate applies to women who never worked, and pretty much there's not very many of those out there anymore. So, for example, if you are due a Social Security benefit of like $1,200 per month and your husband is due a Social Security benefit of $1,400 a month, then while you are both alive and married, you're going to receive $2,600 per month in benefits. Now, just a news flash, if your husband dies before you and he had a higher benefit than you, yours is going to go away and you would receive his. So in the case of a $1,200 and a $1,400, your $1,200 would drop off. That is something that I have worked with many, many ladies to understand what their financial situation is going to be after a husband dies. Okay, I'm going to say this several ways so that I make sure that you know this. So a non-working spouse, someone that doesn't have hardly anything in Social Security benefits, would receive 50% of their spouse's benefit if they applied at full retirement age. Don't do this because you lock in the penalty. If you're 62, your benefit could be reduced as much as 30%. So please, please, please don't do that. There's ways to look at what are all the different choices for you. All right. And the other interesting thing is if you do wait until your full retirement age, there isn't any benefit in waiting past that to receive a spousal benefit. All of these things are going to be handled by the Social Security Administration, but it's important for you to be listening to this so that you ask the right questions when you call them about your own benefit. All right. So after full retirement age, a spouse has the option to choose their own benefit or file for their spousal benefit. That could be possible. It depends on when you were born. And also between a husband and a wife, one or the other has to file for benefits in order for the other to be eligible for spousal benefits. And so here's another little caveat. A person doesn't have to file until they are actually ready to take their Social Security. You don't have to file when you reach age 67. You can, if you're still working and you have enough money to live on, wait until you get that benefit at age 70 to maximize the benefit, maximize the cost of living. And at the end of this presentation, I'm going to give you some other reasons that have to do with taxes. So, and also, this is for if you are discussing this with your husband and he has a higher benefit, you make sure he waits, because if he does not live as long as you are going to, remember how I said you're going to receive the one higher benefit. If he has waited and has a higher benefit than you will receive that higher benefit. All right. So here's an example from Leave It to Beaver. I've just used June and Wally. If she waited until full retirement age, but she hadn't worked that much, her own benefit would be $800. But and let's say not Wally, Ward. If Ward had a $2,000 benefit, then 50% of that is what? $1,000. So she would receive what they call a $200 spousal add-on. So her own benefit would be $800 plus a $200 spousal benefit, because it brings it up to half of what Ward's Social Security benefit is. All right. And if she waited, then her benefit might be a little bit past $1,000 because of cost of living increases. So these are all things that, you know, as you study this more, and if we did the calculations for you, then we can show you what that would look like. All right, this is primarily today for people who have divorced. So let's get into that. So number 3 on my 5 things for you to know is if you do 2 benefits, you get the one that pays the higher rate. You're not going to get both of them, right? Most women are potentially due 2 benefits, their own retirement benefit and potentially a spousal benefit, like I just illustrated for you. But you only get the one that's the higher rate, meaning like if you're a doctor and you have a higher Social Security benefit than your husband's, there's no spousal benefit, right? And most of the time, a wife is due between 1/3 and 1/2 of her husband's Social Security. Most working women who reach retirement age get their own Social Security benefit because it's more than 1/3 or 1/2 of the husband's rate, right? Like if he had $1,000, if he had, let's say he had a $1,500 and you had a $1,600, there's not going to be any spousal. But if your husband dies before you, you can apply for the higher widow's rate. And so there's the thing with Social Security is these rules keep circling around, whether you're divorced or widowed, or if you're married, there's some basic rules that keep applying to all of these different scenarios. But here, once again, if you are divorced, here's the big things. You have to be currently unmarried to receive a benefit from an ex's record. You have to be currently unmarried. You have to be at least 62. You have to have been married at least 10 years. And your ex-spouse needs to be at least 62. However, what doesn't show in this list is if you are not waiting until full retirement age, you're going to get a penalty. They're going to reduce what the benefit is. So the way to not take a penalty is to receive the divorced spouse benefits from age 67 to 70 if you can. If that works, if you can just receive a spousal benefit, that'd be great. And let your own benefit receive delayed credits until age 70. That's the biggest thing is that you could potentially do to help yourself. So number 4 of 5 is if you're divorced and you were married at least 10 years, you're eligible possibly for some of your ex's Social Security. So you have to be unmarried. You can't go get married again. You have to be unmarried to receive anything from an ex's record. You have to, and here's an interesting thing. If you sign some kind of decree during the divorce settlement that says you relinquish rights to his benefit, that's never been enforceable and never lawfully ever enforced, because the thing is that you receiving a benefit off of an ex's record doesn't affect his record. He doesn't even potentially have to know about it. And so payments to a divorced spouse don't reduce his payment. And the same payment rules really are going to apply either to divorced wives and widows, as to current wives and widows, if that makes sense. All right. So let's just be clear about some of this with, if you do lose a spouse. The biggest thing that I would also say is you can go to the podcast website, askgoodquestionspodcast.com. There's an information page about me in the bonus downloads, and the link to that book about divorcees and widows is there if you want, a much wider discussion about retirement and all of that can happen. So let's focus in for a minute on widows. A spouse can switch to her husband's higher benefit at his death. So you have to provide a death certificate, and vice versa. There isn't any gender thing going on here. It's just math, and it's just looking at people's records and who had the higher benefit, and that survivor benefit is going to be based on the higher earning spouse's benefit that might include delayed credits or cost of living increases. So delayed credit means you've waited beyond your full retirement age. If it's 67, you'd get some delayed credits if you're 68. But if you wait all the way those 3 years to age 70, you're going to get the maximum benefit that you can have, which I feel is important, because think about when you're 80, and think about when you're 90. You're going to want to have the maximum benefit that you can get with everything that you're doing, right? So let's continue on. Let's drill this into your brain. A widowed spouse can claim benefits as early as age 60 or 50 if they're disabled. However, the caveat is what? If you do that before your full retirement age, there are going to be reductions, and I call them penalties, for receiving benefits early. So when you do that, you completely lock in that much reduced benefit for the rest of your life. I don't want to see you do that. So remember, so this is the same as for divorcees. If a widow was married at least 10 years and their spouse dies, whether they were still married or divorced at the time of the death, they might be entitled to a survivor benefit, okay? And here's the important thing. If the survivor remarries before age 60, there isn't any survivor benefits unless that marriage ends. You could literally, if you went in to get survivor benefits and you found out, no, I'm sorry, you can't have any because you're married, you could go get divorced, be able to show a divorce certificate showing that you are legally divorced, and the death certificate from the ex-spouse, and go back in and get those survivor benefits. I know it's crazy, but that is the truth. And the thing that is interesting about this whole thing is that guy who you might have be able to get, if you just divorced from him and he's still alive, he may not even know, because remember, his benefit isn't going to change. But I had one instance in a workshop I was doing where the second wife of the guy just became enraged because she was like, what, that nasty first wife is going to get a benefit? And she didn't like that, but it's possible. It's possible for that to happen. So here's the way to make this better and make this so that it maximizes what you can get. Widows and widowers who qualify for benefits based on their own work credits could possibly, I'm not saying any of this is a for sure, because I have learned every single individual situation is something that has little tweaks and twirls around them. And so you have to, understand these big principles, and then you're going to go into Social Security and you're going to talk to them to find out how it applies to you specifically. But overall, the general principle is you could receive survivor benefits from age 60 to 69 and then take advantage of delayed credits and get the maximum benefit that you can at age 70 on your own record. So remember that reductions to all of this is still going to apply. Make sure, you're going to hear me screaming this loud and clear. Do everything you can to delay taking credit. I understand when there's extenuating circumstances. I get it. But I want you to delay if you can, because it's going to be important when you're 80 and it's going to be important when you're 90. Okay, here's the fifth one of the 5. When your husband or your ex dies, you're probably due a widow's benefit. So widows are going to get about 71% of what they could potentially get at full retirement age at age 60, and they get 100% of that at full retirement age. So the message that I keep saying over and over and over again is, wait, keep on working, do what you can to leave these alone until you're full retirement age. You are going to get your own benefit first, and then whatever is due to you will be added on. Remember a while, earlier I talked about June and how she had an $800 benefit and she got a spousal add-on of $200 to bring her up to 50% of her husband's. That's what they're talking about. You're going to get your own benefit first, and whatever is due to you will be added on. Now, I think this is laughable, but there is a one-time $255 death benefit if you were living with your husband when he died. Maybe go spend that on the obituary in the newspaper. I think that's about what it costs now. And if you made more money than your husband, then the reverse could be true. Remember, this could apply to either one of the spouses. So here's just a little caveat on working while you receive benefits. Don't do it. Don't work and receive Social Security benefits until you reach full retirement age. Working is going to reduce your benefit amount. And this is on earned income. This is like jobs that are taking money out for retirement accounts and Medicare and Social Security. Once you reach that magic full retirement age of possibly 67, your benefits are recalculated so that you'll receive the full benefit amount. Remember, though, if you are working and you're receiving Social Security, you are also going to be jacking up your taxable income. That might, in fact, take you into a whole nother tax bracket that you might not want to do. So you can work and receive Social Security, but please try not to do that. Let me explain to you how this works. They have a formula, and Social Security will deduct $1 of benefits for every $2 you earn above $23,400 in 2025. Now, that keeps on going up a little bit every year. But in this example, if you decided to work part-time, like at a golf course, and you earn $25,600, and the amount allowed is $23,400, that's $2,200 over. That means that Social Security, when you do your IRS 1040, when you do your tax return, they're going to say, we want $1,100 back, because they're applying this formula for working while you're receiving benefits. So that is the benefit for when you're, the years like from 62 up to 66. In the year that you reach your full retirement age, and let's just call it 67, they're going to deduct $1 in benefits for every $3 that you earn above the $62,160 maximum in 2025. So the year that you turn 67, and let's say it's July, they're only going to count earnings before the month that you reach your full retirement age. So let's say you have a hotel management job, right? And your salary is $71,380. They're going to deduct $62,160 for that limit that you can earn. And that means that there's going to be $9,220. So they would want $3,073 back. So I'm just saying, please don't do this to yourself, because if you can just work in a regular job, delay taking Social Security, because not only do you get whacked because of taking it early before your full retirement age, but you're also going to potentially put yourself into a higher tax bracket. So it's like warning, warning, warning. And so here's the maximum taxable earnings. Do you see how through the years it just goes up a little bit every year? So 2025, they're going to take Social Security out of your paycheck up to $176,100. I'm feeling this is going to be one of the things that is going to change as well. And I'm thinking, they keep talking about running out of money with Social Security. I'm not going to get into that in this workshop, but realize that they do not take Social Security out of a paycheck after you go past that 176,000 threshold. What they're talking about in Congress is saying, well, just make it 250,000 or whatever and catch most of the people out there that will continue to put Social Security money into the system. So my biggest thing that I have seen over doing workshops for years is that if you take your benefit before your full retirement age, that is the most common and a very expensive mistake. And I don't want to see you do that. Please hear me when I tell you that, yes, I get it if there's extenuating circumstances, but if you're still working and if you can wait, then do it, because the benefits are there. And what I can show you, I can mathematically show you. I have like this calculator program that we put your information in, and it'll give you the different ways that you could take this and give you the lifetime benefit of how much you'll receive from Social Security. Also, it'll tell you when the break-even point is for, well, how much am I going to get if I take it at 62? And what if I wait until 67? And what happens if I take it at age 70? Usually, what I've seen over the years is that it's between age 78 to 82 where the break-even point is, where it's better to have waited to get the larger paycheck than to take the earlier and smaller checks, right? So here's an example. This is an actual client. She paid attention and she waited until age 70. She was a retired pharmacist. She would have gotten $1,630 a month at age 62 if she had taken it then, but she was still working. Her benefit was 66 and 2 months, and that would have been $2,172 a month. But she waited until her age 70, and she started with $2,849. Well, now that has just continued to grow with the cost of living increases that she's received. But look at that. It's 75% more benefits than age 62. This is important. And this is something that if you hear people saying, oh, it doesn't matter. Yes, it does matter. And I'm going to just be very passionate about it, that it does matter. All right. The other thing that I'm not getting into in great detail in this episode is taxes. You're probably going to pay up to 80, you're going to pay taxes on 85% of your benefit. So you got to think about where's your thresholds for which tax bracket that you're in. So probably, though, you're going to be paying taxes on about 85% of your taxable income. So here's just a really quick thing about what I think is going to happen. And boy, have we seen a lot of stuff about Social Security in the news, haven't we? It is not like a 401k or an IRA. It is an insurance program, a government-run insurance program that current wage earners support those that are receiving benefits. The money comes into the government, and there's about 66 million people on Social Security right now. It's only getting bigger because there's more and more baby boomers that are retiring all the time. That's for about like the next 10 years. Anyway, this is a government-run program, and everybody that's currently working is putting into the system. So here's the reality of what's happened. After 2020, a wonderful year that was, wasn't it? The Treasury started to redeem trust fund assets. They actually have like two, I'm going to call them government-run savings accounts. One is for disability, one is for retirement assets. Those have like $2.7 trillion in them. Those are slowly being eaten away. They predict that because there's more and more and more people that are taking, their Social Security benefit, that amount of money over here for funding all of that is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So Social Security is predicting that those trust funds are going to be completely depleted in about 10 years by 2035. So when that happens, and don't believe anybody that says, oh, it's going away. No, it's not. Remember, there's 66 million people on Social Security. The money coming in from current workers will be able to cover about 79% of scheduled benefits. I don't know today whether that means everybody that's on Social Security or if it means just the new people coming in. For those of you that have children that are like in their 40s, make sure they are working on their own savings, because Social Security will be there. We just don't know at what level it's going to be funded at in the future. And like I was telling you at the very beginning about, all of the moving around that we've done to be able to be closer to grandchildren, I'm not so worried about us. I'm worried about what is it going to be like in 50 years for those grandchildren. So just remember, it will be there, but we might, we're going to see what happens over the next couple of years with all the changes coming down the pike. So here's some of the reforms that I think could happen. Remember, I talked about that 176,000 ceiling on which Social Security is taken out. I think they're going to continue to raise that. And I also talked to you about raising the retirement age. I think that's a possibility that it could go from 67 to 70. And so they can delay paying full retirement benefits if they move that number back. And remember, all of this is just math. They have formulas for how they do all of this. I'm thinking that they could be revising the formulas for future benefits. It's my opinion that adjustments are going to be made and Social Security will remain solvent for many generations to come. But I don't know exactly how it's going to look. I feel like if you are better educated, this is why I'm passionate about getting this information out to you, is because if you are better educated about this, you're going to better be able to take care of your own personal future. So here's some of the things that you can do. Delay claiming until later. Use your IRA and 401k money. I can't give you an 8% guaranteed interest rate increase every year, but Social Security can. They can, from 67 to 70, they can give you a delayed credits of 8% a year. Then couple your Social Security benefits and various withdrawals at age 70 with possibly a spousal benefit. Wait, work longer. Don't claim while you're working. Just keep paying into the system and keep saving with your own IRA savings and 401 savings. Claim that ex-spouse's spousal benefit, possibly a survivor benefit. Look at how much you're going to pay in taxes. Just a real short lesson on that. But first, we are talking about if you take payments early, you're going to start receiving benefits sooner, but it's going to be at a reduced rate, isn't it? It's going to be smaller checks. If you delay, then your monthly benefit will increase up until age 70, but the longer you wait, the fewer monthly checks you're going to receive. That is true. But remember, there is that crossover point where it's going to be beneficial to you to wait. So you're going to use your information that you know about your family, your health, your family history, and then we can help you with determining the right time for you to file in order to optimize your benefit. Don't just call Social Security and have them talk you into starting early. Say, no, I'm going to look at the numbers. I'm going to look at the math so that you know what to expect will be the most likely successful scenarios for you and how you want your retirement to go financially. So I have another thing that I do that talks about, if you see the red is if you take Social Security early, then you have to take more. The blue is your IRA, the gray and the black is your Social Security benefits for a spouse. If you wait, you have to take less out of your Social Security, and more of your money is coming from Social Security. This is a possibility. You will not have to take as much out of 401k retirement savings, so that could potentially save that account from dropping too much if it's in, if it, God forbid, got into some volatility that you weren't expecting. So the way to have this be beneficial for you is to have more of your income coming from Social Security, which is up to 85% of that is going to be taxed, but 100% of everything coming out of your IRA is going to get taxed. So you potentially can save tax money. That's all I'm going to say about it here. I'm just going to tweak that thought and plant that seed that you could potentially also benefit by doing that. So thank you so much for attending today. The Ask Good Questions podcast airs every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And remember, you can go to Ask Good Questions podcast to look at the bonus. There are 2 bonus downloads today. One of them is called Women in Wealth, A Pivot Towards Retirement. It talks about some of the issues for women. That's one of the downloads. The other download I gave you is the fact sheet from Social Security for 2025. So those and other bonus download worksheets are there at the website. If you have any questions, there's a flyer there for looking at how to get in touch with me. And with that, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope this has been helpful. And remember to always ask good questions.
Today's episode is over, but we did ask good questions again, didn't we? Don't miss out as we broadcast live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio at W4CY.com. Join Bonita Bell Anderson next week for more conversations with experts on finances, retirement, behavioral finance issues, health and wellness, and more. Until then, remember to ask good questions.